Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming. Object-oriented programming is developed because limitations were discovered in early approaches to programming. To appreciate what object-oriented programming does, we need to understand what these limitations are and how they arose from traditional programming languages. Traditional programming languages and object-oriented programming. Before the advent of object-oriented programming, traditional programming languages primarily followed procedural and structural programming approaches. These approaches, while effective for certain tasks, exhibited limitations that inherited the development and maintenance of complex software systems. Procedural programming often lacked a robust mechanism to encapsulate data, and traditional languages struggle to effectively model real-world entities and their relationship, and making code maintenance difficult as software systems and making complexity. Object-oriented programming was introduced to overcome flaws in the procedural approach to programming, such as lack of reusability and maintainability. Fundamental idea behind OOP languages is to combine into a single unit both data and the functions that operate on that data. Such a unit is called an object. An OOP problem is divided into the number of entities called objects and then builds data and functions around these objects. It ties the data more closely to the function that operate on it and protects from accidental modification from the outside functions, and data of an object can be accessed only by the functions associated with that object, and communication of the object done through only function. And object-oriented programming emphasizes on data rather than procedure, and programs are divided into entities known as objects. Data structures are designed such that they characterize objects, and functions that operate on data of an object are tied together in data structures. Data is hidden and cannot be accessed by external functions. Objects communicate with each other through functions. The history of OOP has its roots in the research and experiments of computer scientists in the early 1960s and 1970s. One of the pioneers of object-oriented programming, Ole Johan Dahl, who along with Christian Nygaard developed the first object-oriented language Simula in 1967. Simula introduced the concepts of classes, objects, inheritance, and polymorphism, which are the core features of OOP. Another influential figure was Alan Kay, who, along with his colleagues at Xerox PARC, developed the language Smalltalk in 1972. Strostrup developed an object-oriented language at Bell Laboratories in the late 1970s, which later became C++. In the 1980s saw the development of other languages such as Object Lisp, Common Lisp, Object System, and FO. The popularity of the object-oriented model led to changes to ADA, which included concepts like inheritance, polymorphism, and dynamic binding. In the 1990s, two major events occurred: the development of Java in 1996, which appeared to be a derivative of C++ but had many controversial concepts removed. Java also introduced a collection of libraries to support application development, and the publication of design patterns by Gamma in 1994 provided general approaches to solving specific design patterns using object-oriented programming.